Good evening. Welcome to part 5 of me trying to learn some Haskell. Before I jump into this, I want to share a book that I came across today on Haskell Reddit. It's a book called The Simple Haskell Handbook. And the reason it caught my attention is because it's a practical Haskell book. It doesn't go through the theory of Haskell, it goes through building an application. In this case, I think it's building a CI server from scratch, which sounds like exactly the kind of book I'd like to read. So I've just bought it. I haven't looked at it yet, but I just purchased it. But it sounds like a really great idea and a good way of learning some actual Haskell, like writing real programs, which is the kind of thing I'm interested in right now. Cool. So moving on from that, let's go back to the program I've been writing for the past few weeks. It's still this program that takes a file and it extracts the non-ASCII characters from it, and then it prints out how frequently they appear in the file. At the end of last week, I had a bit of fun. Well, I say fun. We had a bit of work working with the IO monad, and also getting this program to take a list of files and to extract the symbols from each of those files in turn, and then give the frequency across all of the files that you give it. So in the main library, we had a bit of fun splitting up the sort of pure functions here, the ones that don't deal with IO or any sort of outside world stuff at all. Refactors a little bit, but they're roughly the same as they were before. And then adding some sort of IO aware, or some functions that use IO monads to deal with the sort of interacting with the outside world bit. And then this run for file is the one that kind of puts the two together. So it calls the pure function and then sort of spits it out in the IO world or under the IO monad. So that was cool. We got that working. I think we got it working. I just check, see if it's in my history still. Yeah, so stack running, I'm passing in 2 files. Hopefully it'll still be compiled. Yep. And then it runs over those 2 different files, and it counts up the symbols and how frequently they occur in those 2 files. So that's kind of cool. What I want to do today is look at the last bit, I think, which is this idea of keeping track of chains of symbols occurring together, so 2 or 3 or 4 symbols in a row. One of the things I'm quite interested in is this will require some refactoring. We're going to change our main type here, which we were tracking a map from the character we find in the file to the integer, the frequency, which it occurs. I'm going to change that type to be a string. So it'll be interesting to see how good the refactoring is. In Haskell, it's supposed to be very good at this. I'm wondering if you just change the type and follow the type errors and it magically fixes everything. And then the other reason this is kind of interesting is because I need to deal with a bit more state. We kind of already do deal with state. I mean, when we're counting up the frequency, we take an existing map. So this is like the map of all the symbols we found so far, and then we modify that and return a new map with the next symbol that we find. So that's already dealing with state in the sense of passing in the previous state, doing some stuff, and then returning a new state. We're going to have to expand this idea a little bit more. We're not just taking this map in as our state, we're also going to have to remember the previous character or list of characters if they happen to be non-ASCII characters. So if they were previously symbols, we need to start passing that in so that we can build on top of that. The other thing that occurred to me is I think I've broken all the testing for this. I've not been very good about doing TDD. I've written tests at various points, but I'm pretty sure that I've broken or changed the functions that they call so they don't work anymore. But I'd like to go back and fix those at the beginning because I want to map out some test cases of exactly what I expect to come back from these functions so that I can be sure it is tracking the state properly. So I might start there. If I go into here, this was calling count symbol frequency and extract symbols. Let's see if they still exist. Count symbol frequency is still there, and extract symbols is there as well, actually. So that's cool. So maybe the specs will still run. Let me see. So if I say, I think I just say stack test, it should run the test for me. It doesn't compile because extract symbols is no longer exported. Let me just drop back in there. And it's true, I'm no longer exporting that. I can just export that. I don't see a problem with that. So, oops, just put in extract symbols into here and see if that fixes the problem. I'm not sure if the functionality is correct. Yeah, okay, so I thought I'd done something like this. When I wrote this spec, we were returning a list of tuples, and a couple of weeks ago we changed that into, or I think maybe last week I changed into returning the map. So count symbol frequency. It takes a string as before, but now it also takes an empty map, which I'm not passing in, and it returns a new map. I wonder. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I did it. I guess to do the comparison, I'll have to create an expected map and check that that's the same. Okay, so I presume the type is saying it's getting back a function. Yeah, it's getting back something. It takes this map to a new map, and it actually expects a list of pairs. So we can fix that, I think. So we can create an empty map, but yeah, I believe we can say simfrec. In fact, I think what we want to do is create an empty map, and I'm not sure I export that. No, we're not exporting that. So if I go down to here where we're doing it, we're explicitly calling empty. I probably need to export this type just so that I can create an empty of the correct type. But I'll try just passing an empty from where did it come from data.map. I'm just going to see how that works. I'm going to say import data.map, and we're only going to put an empty from that for now. I'll try passing it in here. Oh, hang on, how am I passing in? I just typed simfrec, that's a mistake. Let's hope the binding of that infix operator is correct. So I'm now calling it with a string and empty. I think it's just an error. Yep, that's good. So I can pass an empty, that's working fine, but now it's saying it expects a list of pairs and it's getting the map back. So that's got the correct values. I'm going to say it should be expected map where expected map is equal to, and then we just want to create a map. I think there's a way to create a map from a list of pairs. I'm just going to go and look that up in Google. Data.map. Result find map. I can just click on that and just change the. Oh no! Can I just change this to data.map? I think from list is probably correct. I was just going to go and look it up to be sure, but I can try guessing at things. Right, let's just stack REPL. We import data.map. And I think you can say info data.map. No. Okay, it's not info. There's something else you can say to list it out, but I can't remember what it is. But now I've imported it. Do we have from list available? We do. Okay. So it takes a pair of, a list of pairs, which is exactly what we want. The key has to be orderable, but it is orderable, I think. This is a list of characters to ints. Info. Yes, it's orderable. Cool. So it takes, I've lost it now. It takes list pairs and it returns the map. Okay, so you can say from list, I'll have to import that, and then in theory, just that. Let's find out. I don't think I need the explicit type annotation here because it should be able to work it out based on the fact that that's what it is. It's not really worth putting that in the workflows either because it's just a one-liner. Do that. Okay, but I also, from here, I need to import from list. Okay, so let's try that and see if the test now works. Yep, it looks cool. Okay, cool. So symbol frequency is doing the right thing, and extract symbols is doing the right thing as well. So that's cool. What I'd like to do is a new describe. Oops. Because I think what I want to do is write a function that takes the list of characters of known ASCII characters it's found so far, like the previous chain of ASCII characters, and then I guess a character, which is the next character, and it's then going to return. Actually, what would it return? It's going to return a modified list of characters so far, or an empty list if the character it's looking at is an ASCII character, or not an ASCII, an alphanum. So I'll call this thing, because I'm not sure what to call it. Actually, thing with a when called with a symbol. So it returns the updated list of characters. I'm just assuming I'm going to need this. I'm kind of going a little bit bottom up here. I'm thinking of like what am I ultimately going to be calling to do this sort of managing the previous list of characters, and assuming it's going to slot into place in the program, which is probably not the best way of going around it. It's probably better to start top down, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep going because I've started. So I need a name for this. I'm going to call this build sim list, something like that. So build sim list, and then we pass it a string with some previous characters in it. Oops. And then we pass it a new character, so we're going to pass it a symbol. Say that should be, and I guess I want to give me back a tuple or a pair here. So we're going to get the modified list, and oh no, it's just a modified list. That's all I want. actually, I'm going to back out of that because I don't think I need this function. I really should be going the other way around. What I really want is better test cases for this thing, for the count symbol frequency. It really annoys me that key bindings in VS Code are slightly different between Linux and Windows, so I never quite know which ones to press. I don't know how to duplicate that. We're still in count symbol frequency, but it returns chains of symbols. In fact, it returns the frequency of chains of symbols. So if we modify this a bit and we just give it a couple of sort of chains of symbols, in fact, so we already have one here, so that's going to be interesting. And then a symbol on its own. So I'm going to say it should be the string containing these two, and that appears once. And the next thing it's got is $backtick and then hash, and that occurs once. That's a string, not a character. And then it's got a single hash on its own at the end. Now I'm wondering if we also return the counts of the individual characters as we go. And I think we probably should, because the fact that there are, like, this hash appears twice is probably important. I say important in the scheme of writing this program. So I might say that this occurs twice, so it'll be at the front of the list, but everything else occurs once, and then I don't know how we sort the rest of the list given that everything occurs once. It's going to be a bit long. I'm going to just shorten this list a bit. Then I don't need to think about it. So we'll say that occurs once, and that occurs once. Actually, because I'm comparing it to the map, we should be okay. I just need to make sure that the string is orderable. Because from this requires an orderable thing, so list of characters. Is a list of characters orderable? I don't know that it is. No. Okay, that might cause some complications. I guess we'll find out. Apart from anything else, I guess I could just run the test, see if it complains. So, okay, first error we got is that the types don't match up, so it's expecting symfrec, which is a map from list of characters. Sorry, a map from character to integer, and this is a map of list of characters. So I'm going to fix the type up here as well. And then go and change my type. So we go back to lib. We're now going to change this from character to a string. And now we will have a lot of type errors, hopefully. So this sorting, do we use the sorting anywhere? Don't know, I'll fix it anyway. It's not exported. Doesn't seem to be used anywhere. 3 selections. Oh, that is used somewhere. but it's just exported. I don't know. Is it used in main? It's not in. Oh, it is imported. Okay, so we use it in main to. Oh, I see. To get it back into a sorted list. So this is going to be string to integer. But I think everything else has worked fine there. And then here, I think this is the one that's going to have to change the most. Because we can't just insert the character. What we could do is that, I guess. So it'll be just a string containing a single character. And I think that's all the type errors. If I run the test again. Okay. So we go back to our main function. We call run for files because our map back, and then we call symbol frequency with our map. And that returns a map of string to int. And then what do we do with it? We call format. Oh, I see. So up here, this needs to change to string. And this needs to change to string. It doesn't make sense to call show on a string. Oops, so that's the count. Doesn't make sense to call show there. I don't think it causes any harm, but no point to it. Okay, so one test failure, which I think is cool. So it's picked up the individual bits. I left back again, forgot about that. But it hasn't picked up the run of characters that occur together. I'm just going to check that the program still runs. It does, and produces a similar answer. It'll be slightly different because we changed the code slightly. So that's cool. But now we can look at fixing our test. Yes. So for a single file, we call count symbol frequency, which is this thing, which it's probably where we're going to want to track the previous run of characters. I don't see us tracking the characters across different files. It's not like if you end a file with one character and start the next file with another character that we want to count that. So it's just inside a single file. So it's probably at this level that I'm interested in keeping track of the previous character. The thing I'm thinking is we already fold over what's called update map, but we pass in the empty map to start with. Well, the empty map for the first file and then the map from the previous file after that. And we pass in this sims, which is a string of all the symbols that we extract from the file. So extract symbols is going to be problematic for us because it throws away everything in between, and we can't differentiate between. We can't differentiate between. See, like these three characters, which are symbols occurring together, and these two, which are characters which are separated by alphanumeric characters. So we could probably look at something which splits it into substrings and then delete the ones which are only containing alphanumeric characters, and then we should be left with lists of runs of symbols. How does that work? I'm sure there's a function for this. So what do we want? We want to go from, we're going to take a list of characters, or a string, I guess. But I'm going to do a list of A's and a function which goes from A to bool, I think. And then I want it to give me back a list of A's. Something like that. Maybe swap the arguments around a bit. No, it's not finding there. Still loading, mind you. I wonder if Will has got a guess as to what this is called. I think it's not called partition. Ah, here we go. Split when. Could have guessed that. So it splits on satisfying a given predicate. Could have split drop delimiters when elt. Is a data group any sequence of non-alphanumeric characters? Yes, it is. I'm not that interested in whether or not I recognize the compound symbol. I'm more interested in, am I going to be typing those two characters one after the other, or three characters one after the other. I don't really care if it has meaning. I just care about how likely am I going to get a roll on the keyboard for those symbols. So I'm just going to look at the output of these. So split on. No, I think split when is the one that, because I'm going to write a function which goes from the character to whether or not it's an alphanumeric. So split on less than 0. It's going to give me 1 and 3 pair together, and it drops the one that matches the predicate. Then it gives me the next two, then it drops the one that matches the predicate, and the next two. Okay, that sounds like, oops, like the kind of thing I want. And where is this? This is data.list.split. List.split. It's not a module in the current program or any known package. Well, that's not very helpful, is it? Let's add it, I think. So if I go to, I can't remember the stack now. Oops. If I go to my package.yaml, so dependencies, we've got basic containers, and then how do we write this? It's not data dot, presumably. If I import anything else, HPEC, character breaking containers, like the package is called data.list.split. Well, I'm guessing I don't type that here. How do I import a library? How does anything work? Depends on quick check. I think the package is just called split. because it's called split here. Let's give that a go. And has it got a version? Basically, is it in stackage, I guess, is the question I'm wondering as well, because if it's not in stackage, then it might be a bit more awkward to import. And we are 17.12, I think. It's not such a package, is it? It was called split by. It's a function. Split by is not in anything that's on here. Okay, the thing we can do is just steal the definition of this. So it's split. Oh, is that their function? Oh, that's annoying. It was split when, anyway. That's the wrong thing to search for. Split when is in a function called split, which is data listed split. Okay, cool. And its version is 0234. But that's okay, because it'll just pull in the default version from the LTS I'm using, I think. It is, yep. 0234. Cool. So now I can say import data.list.split. Cool, and then we can say split when. Forgotten the order arguments. It's probably the list first. No, it's function first and then the list. So we can say something like split when is alpha num, which comes from data.jar. Yep, is alpha num. So now we can say split when is alpha num, and then some strings. So we can say we're going to drop those. Let's put in some meaningful symbols. Okay, we're almost there. So we do get the substrings, which is great. We also get these empty strings. So we want something that drops the empty results. I'm not sure they're going to have another function here. Okay, just use another function for that then. So something that deletes from a list. List. Can I search for that? Yep. Is doing drop delim, which you don't want. No, I think I do want it to drop the delimiters. Otherwise, I'd get the alpha nums in the string returns to me, but I don't want them at all. What I'm thinking of doing is what I really want to do is take this input string and turn it to a list of strings which contain runs of one or more symbols, and then I can just use those to construct, to basically count the frequency within those things. I don't want it to return the alphanumeric characters to me because I'm not interested in those at all. I'm only interested in them as being separators of the symbols. So I think I do want to drop delimiters. The trouble is, until this, I'm getting these empty strings come back. And I think there's something called, there's condense, which seems to do something useful. Also drop inner blanks. Is there like a drop all blanks? I'm going to try condense first, but then I can try oh no, that doesn't work. Why are they calling that? Condense takes a splitter. Okay. And this is not a splitter, this is a what's when out? Okay, so my split when is doing these and then turning it back into a list of lists, isn't it? So it would be something like condense, split, drop to limbs, when out is alpha num, then apply it to the string. No. When else applied to too many arguments. How many arguments does when out have? I think I need to do this. No, oh, for goodness sake. This is not as convenient as I thought. Okay, let's go back to split when is alpha num. That is that, so we can do something like drop inner. Drop blank, drop initial blank. You think there'd be something which drops all the blanks? Oh, it's called drop blanks. Yeah, that's what I want. So what they're doing here is we're calling all blank chunks from the output, condense it. So this is their input string. This is their splitter. So I think this is my when out. I'm really confused by this type splitter and how you combine them and how it works with the utility functions. So I feel like I'd like to be able to just use drop blanks with the split when, and then feed it the string. But I don't know which of these is, like, split when it's not returning splitter, is it? It's returning split when is a function which goes from a list of strings to a list of strings. So I guess I want to go from equals split on the splitter. So I need to group my things together. So we've got when else and drop to limbs. And when else takes an argument here. So here we can go when out. And the other thing we can have is drop to limbs. So group those together, and this should return me. Right, let's go to the string for a second. Oh, that dropped in the line. Can I ask it for the type of this? It does take a splitter. That's cool. It returns me a splitter, sorry. So then I can feed that into split. And give it the string, and that's exactly what I want. Cool. So I can then take this sort of list of strings and then just map over it, and for each string put the whole string into the map and put each element of the string into the map. That's my thinking. So if I say import data.list.split, and from this we're going to use split and drop blanks. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to run this without the drop delimiters. Okay, so you get delimited space interspersed. Not what I want. So drop the limbs. And when out. That's what we want. So now in here, in constant frequency, instead of extracting the symbols and turning that into just a list, just a single string, we can use this split on drop blanks, apply to when out, and then this thing when the drop is off the num. Oh, I need to do the or, didn't I? So we got this stupid thing. Yeah, just gonna grab that. I'm gonna store it somewhere, so we'll just call this not sim. Is that? So here we can call this of not sim. I'm going to apply it to S. Okay, we're getting closer. So now sims is this list of lists, or this list of strings. So here it's going to take a single string each time, and then we can insert that string in. So this should, I think, let me go back to our test for a second. I think it's going to return this part of it, but it won't return. In fact, I think it's going to return this, but set to 1, and then, oh, maybe this set to 2, and then this, but it's not going to return the individual parts of that run of symbols. That's my expectation. Let's see what happens. Okay, the frequency of chains of symbols. So I expected this was 2, but oh, I've got a backtick. That doesn't help. So let's try and get the input correct. It's all gone a bit wrong. So I forgot to drop the limbs, I think, because they're showing up here, which is not what I want. It is correctly grabbing that chain of symbols, but it's not putting the component parts in. And then I had an extra symbol which made it not match my expectation. Okay, so oops. If I go back to the library, here I did drop blanks, but I didn't do drop the limbs. Okay, so that should hopefully be slightly closer. I should only be missing the sort of broken down individual. That's completely wrong. So, oh, my logic's inverted. It's not that I want to say, I'm not identifying the character I want to keep anymore, which is what we used to do. What I want to do is identify the character I'm going to throw away, which should simply be that. Oh, it needs to be anonymous function because we're applying C to both functions here. How's this looking? Okay, we're almost there. So it correctly counted the number of times this hash symbol appeared. It correctly identified this sort of run of symbols, but I'm not yet putting out the individual symbols within that. So what do we want to do? Two things. One is if the string only contains a single character, then we just do this. Can we match a single character? So can we say something like would that be an empty list? Not how you write a function, though, is it? Oh, how do you write a function in Haskell with pattern matching? The other I could do is say case length C of, and I guess you could say something like 1, and then do that. Maybe spell length correctly. That make a difference. And remember that I'm in Haskell, not a different language. So we can say 1 character long. We just insert it. And if it's more than that, then what do we do? Then we kind of want to do insert with key. What some values? Oh, that's working out whether or not it was previously there. Of C1MP, And then we take that returns a symfrec to us. So we use that as our new map, a new base map. And then we call another fold. Update map. This is our base map. And then we want to call it repeatedly with the contents. So that's going to try and call it with the characters each time, but this now takes a string. I will tie this up in a second. Let's not call it C, let's call it S. In fact, I just want to call this S because this is the string. But here, when I get, okay, it gets 2 arguments, so it gets the map so far, and it gets C, which is a single character. I'm going to call update map, but we're going to pass C, oops, map and C, but turned back into a string again, or a list of characters. So I guess first of all, I wonder if that works, and if it does work, I wonder how to make it less horrible. Okay, so I'm saying unexpected, so it was fine with the single character things, so it should have matched this case. It's matching this case. We're only getting this last character back, which is not really what I expected. Sorry, I'm passing the wrong map there. That won't help. Cool, only one failure this time, and that's the one that I haven't updated to cope with runs of characters yet. So, if I go back to my spec for a second, this one seems to be working fine, and this one is no longer working. So what encodings do we have? We have 3 of these, that makes sense. We still have 2 of those. We have 1 of these characters, and then we also have a couple of encodings. So we've got $backtick hash, 1 of those. And we have slightly shorter hash backtick, and we have 1 of those as well. Okay, that passed. When I run this, does it work? Everything joined together. It looks like it does. So it's picked up all the single runs of things, but there are 19 of these apparently. I guess that makes sense. It's quite a common thing. It's in a lot of tests. Comments is picked up. I've got 4 line comments. That's pretty good. I have 10 types. These are a bit weird, but they happen. ++ makes sense, joining lists together. That's cool. So it looks like it works. So the remaining question is, in the next few minutes, can I make this less horrible? Okay, I think that reads well. I don't really like doing the case statement on the length of this. And then I think this sort of helper thing is horrible. So I might actually split this out a little bit into its own function. So we got update map with a character, single character. And this is going to take a symbol frequency and a character, and it's going to return symbol frequency. Oops, update map character. So a map and a C. And this is equal to insert with key there's some values I need to copy down here, and then it takes the character but it turns it into a string, one, and the map. So I'm going to say where some values is just adding these two values together. So, okay, so that's how we put a character in. And then we can say update map string. It again takes some frequency. This time takes a string and the same frequency. So it's just going to do update map string of oops. It takes a map so far, and then we've got a single character. I'm going to see if there's a better way of matching that. But if that's all we have, and then it's update map character, the map and the C we pulled out. That's what I want. I want to say there's only one thing in my, like pattern match says only one thing in the string. I thought I could do that, which is followed by nothing, but that doesn't work. I could do something like S at that. So if it's a character followed by more things, would that necessarily, no, that more things could be empty. There we go, there's at least two things in my string. I'll mark the whole thing as S, and we can call Boldle update map character. It's a map so far, and this list. Then we can say update map string, and then otherwise this is just a single string. No, a string containing a single character, sorry. And we'll do this. We call again, we can use update map character. The trouble with this, right, is we've now lost we're not putting the whole string in, which is what this call is doing. So instead of doing map, we'll do map prime, where map prime is insert with key some values. I'm going to have to make this accessible from more than one place. S, which we got before, 1, and the original map. There we go, cool. It's a really helpful type signature, isn't it? I might just get rid of that. Although it's kind of correct, it just needs 2 addable things and doesn't care what this P is. So why not, eh? So now we can get rid of that and we can just say map, update map string. In fact, up here we can just say update map string, I think. Like that, and then get rid of all this crap. Whether that still works. I'm not sure it's made it much better. It was getting a bit too long for sort of a long-running where clause, but then I'm not sure that this is much better, much more easily readable. But nonetheless, it works, so kind of happy with that. There we go. I can now run this over some code and it'll tell me which characters are the most frequent. And I think, conveniently ending 1rn, that's it for this program. I'm sure I could come back and improve bits of it, but I've now written something where I give it some files. It gives me back the thing I asked for. So read contents, find symbols, count symbols, including change of 2 or 3 symbols, or basically 2 or more symbols. And that seems to work just fine, which is cool. So this is the end of my first program in John Learns Haskell. For next week, what I'll do is try and find a new problem. Yeah, and start from scratch with a brand new program. But cool, thanks for joining me. And hopefully see you next week. Goodbye.